Hello, I'm Denis Penel, the Managing Director of the World Employment Confederation. I'm happy to introduce you to a new season of Staffing Insights, a series of video interviews that the World Employment Confederation is conducting with staffing industry analysts. This year, we want to take you through the challenges and opportunities that the staffing industry faces in a world that is forever changed by the COVID-19 pandemic. Enjoy, and don't hesitate to come and discuss with us on our social media channels.
My name's John Nurthen, Executive Director, Global Research at SIA, and I'm joined with Murielle Antille, who's Chair of the WC's Career Management Group. So welcome, Murielle. Maybe I could start with a question. Clearly, 2020 has been a very difficult year for the world, and I'm wondering, maybe you could clarify how that's impacted your particular sector.
Yeah, thank you, John, and thanks for having me today. So, well, if I'd have to summarize it with three keywords, I would say speed, quality, and focus on the individuals. I think, as many other sectors, our sector had to react quickly. So we had to maintain service and continue to support a couple of millions of workers we support every year as they transition between jobs. Thus, very rapidly, we adapted how we had to guide workers in transition in this entirely disrupted market. So, for our sector, we can, we're quite proud to have launched various innovative ideas in these difficult times to add speed in the transition, to bridge people to employment even before they lost their job, or projects to increase the capabilities to up and reskill as they transition. So, from our survey that we conducted with the Association of Career Firm, we know that this is not the end of the tunnel. The service, the career management service, will continue to be, delivered through digital means throughout 2021 to a big extent. So certainly more, room for additional innovations in that respect, and also, unsurprisingly, when it comes to the developments themselves, we saw a massive increase of demand, in particular due to the surge of dismissals. So, between 20 to 35% increase, particularly in collective dismissals. So we saw large variance between public support put in place, short-time working schemes, subsidized furlough scheme. And so, there is a big variance across the geographies. Also, even, almost no dismissal, like in Italy, where the government put in place a layoff ban. So overall, a lot of variation, but clearly a big leap in terms of numbers of people transitioning.
Yeah, I guess this has been quite a different downturn for you to deal with. We expect your sector to grow during difficult economic times, but we've had a lot of government support, furlough schemes. So I guess this has been a slightly different period for you than you might have expected.
Totally. This is, as the world moves, we can't compare what happened this time in 2020 and is still happening with, for example, if we look back on the financial services crisis roughly 10 years ago. And there are a few things that are similar in terms of, seeing the number of people and the mass of people coming through and to accept our service. But clearly we've never seen, at this rapid pace, as well as the deep need for organization to transform at the same time. So this emphasis on skills. And thus, obviously, the government responses in an unprecedented extent.
Yeah. So within the outplacement report we published with your kind support, we came up with a market growth of 7% globally, but I guess that varied by region.
Yes, it does vary by region. As I alluded to, government support and intervention mechanism have been very different across the regions. As I mentioned Italy before on the layoff ban, so that had obviously a very clear impact on the market. On the US, for example, very limited, or the type of interventions were more on providing financial support directly to the individuals and the households, which left a lot of room for dismissals, or pushed a lot of room for dismissals because of the employers struggling with lack of demand. So there, we see that some countries have had a lot of dismissals in 2020, but they are still expecting 2021, as opposed to other countries who are, who have been very well supported in 2020, but are still needing, and as I said before, a lot of employers still need to deeply transform their business, transform the workforce, and this is likely to push for more transition in 2021.
Right.
So John, and you, I mean, with your, you recently published the SIA global outplacement report for 2021. How do you see the main threats and opportunities for the career management industry moving forward?
Yeah, well, I guess there was no coincidence in the timing of the report. I mean, as we referred to, normally difficult economic times is when outplacement does come to the fore, and so I think what we found interesting was that, all the trends and drivers that make outplacement important are still there. So, the reason that companies will do it because they think it will help them in rehiring perhaps laid off employees. It's going to improve the morale of their existing employees. It's going to protect them from litigation and protect their brand. But it's also interesting that in many countries in continental Europe, there are local legal requirements that need to be met as well. So perhaps those that don't operate in those countries might be unaware of the fact that in certain countries such as Belgium, France, Spain and Finland, there is a mandatory requirement to offer outplacement services, depending on the size of the company and the number of dismissals. So there's a sort of legal obligation to do it. And even in the US, there is, apart from the positive reasons to do it to help your laid off workers, there is a financial driver there because of the fact that if you find work more quickly for workers that you lay off, then you're going to lower your unemployment insurance premiums. So all those trends are still there. I guess, what's added to that mix is the fact that the workforce is under such huge transition at the moment because of automation, the automation trends that we see, and the need for workers to be reskilled. So, I mean, I guess that's a question it would be good for me to ask you is, how do you think that will affect the industry going forward? It seems to me that the traditional role of the outplacement sector in helping laid off workers could be expanded more and be a little bit more proactive to actually protect workers while they're still in work.
Yeah, totally. Totally. It's you already responded to the question, I would say, but definitely, I mean, we have identified that this is a great opportunity to to start redefining our role, as there is an emerging need for more emphasis on skilling and sustainability. You alluded, you talked a lot about the support mechanism and the legislation that have an impact on career transition, outplacement, career management in general. And there is a lot of emphasis on skilling. On the sustainability side, it's slightly less on the legislative level, but definitely a lot of emphasis on making the world more resilient and more agile. So the speed at which the global economy was affected or is affected put a lot of pressure on talent solutions. And I would say last year illuminated how little many or most organizations know about their current workforce. So talent in most organizations is not fluid and could not be redeployed at the rate of change that the pandemic caused, forcing layoffs and furlough programs. So we are equipped to support this human transformation, this deep human transformation that the global workforce need to go through. So, skilling efforts and our role to help with the heavy lifting needed to transform is certainly one of the key opportunities and where we have a strong role to play. We observe that while, up and reskilling efforts is critical, and having access and financing for the skilling is critical, the need for individuals to be guided, enabled, and understand the journey is absolutely increasing. And this is exactly the focus of the career management sector.
And I noticed, for the immediate future this year, the WEC forecast that the sector would grow by 10%. And I just wondered how you were feeling about that number now. Do you think that there's potential upside to that or downside? How's the market looking?
So currently it's a quite interesting time for sure. So what we see is we continue to see that a lot of organizations have needs to, if not restructure, at least transform. So for sure, we continue to be, optimistic about the growth of the sector, if we can put it that way. There is obviously a negative side on this for all the people who will be in transition. However, there are a few, key threats to how the market is evolving. With the whole the unprecedented investment of governments into supporting individuals and companies, there is also, and cope with the price or the cost pressure that employers hire in. There is a threat that it's employers could relatively quickly think that actually they are no longer responsible, or it's easier for them to rely on the public support for employees in transition. So offering less of the support would be devastating. If we think about how outplacement, career transition can be a great lever for employability and connecting people to their next career opportunity, and per se stay relevant on the job market. So if you ask me about that, if you ask me about that, we continue to see that. At the same time, we see a big a level of uncertainty right now in the first initial months of the year, with new waves of lockdowns, with virus mutating. So there we see a lot of not wait and see. I wouldn't say it like this, but some caution before taking any big actions. Okay.
Well, I guess that just leaves me to say thank you again for the WEC's help in producing the outplacement report. It is available on the Staffing Industry Analysts website, so www.staffingindustry.com. If you're members of SIA, then that report is accessible to you. So thank you, Murielle, for your time.
Thank you so much, John, for having me. And yes, please check out the report, which gives some additional insights. Thank you.